Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get started now. Thank you everyone for joining us today. It is my name is Katianna Blanco. I am the Health and Wellness Coordinator and Elder Abuse Prevention Coordinator at the Area Agency on Aging. This is my very first time doing a WEAAD event, so I'm very excited. At this time, I would like to go ahead and introduce the CEO of the Area Agency on Aging of Broward County, Charlotte Mazard-Taylor.
Thank you, Krizia. I'd like to thank all of you for being here today. It's a very important educational program, and we're excited to have our wonderful speakers here to bring some important knowledge to you. I'd like to first take a moment to thank some individuals who are involved. And first of all, Krizia Blanco. She's our Health and Wellness Coordinator, and she's done a great job organizing, coordinating, and producing today's event. So thank you, Krizia. We appreciate everything you did to put this together. And then our behind the scenes person, Candy Osmond, appreciate all that you did also to help out in helping to get this event together for today. And I mentioned our speakers. I would like to focus on them a bit more. We have Katianna Mazard, Sarah Barker, and Deborah Golden. We greatly appreciate all of you taking the time out of your busy Monday morning to share your knowledge with us. Katianna and Sarah come to us from Coast to Coast Legal Aid of South Florida, where Katianna serves as the Senior Law Unit and Title III Project Director, and Sarah serves as the Supervising Attorney. And Deborah Golden is the Regional Program Supervisor for the Florida Department of Children and Families, who's also here with us. Thank you to all of you. To be able to have all of your expertise in this one room for this session is truly an honor. So we're looking forward to your presentations. I'm going to spend 1 minute, well, not minute, a couple of minutes, just to briefly walk you through some of our agency services. I'm going to pull up our PowerPoint, but I'm going to go through very quickly just so those of you who are unfamiliar with our services can just get a little bit of view of what we offer. And you'll see that if you're interested in any of these services or come across loved ones or coworkers, anyone who is in need of our services, you can always call our helpline and get more information. So again, just briefly, can you all see the PowerPoint? Yes? Okay, good. So basically what I just want to share on this page is we are the oldest area agency on aging in the state of Florida. We're part of a network of 11 area agencies on aging. We started in 1974. We're also the only area agency on aging that has one planning and service area, which is Broward County. We are charged with planning, developing, coordinating, and evaluating programs, funding programs, providing services, and are the prime advocate for Broward County residents aged 60 years of age or older. I just have a brief map of the state. You can see with this large statewide network where everyone's located. And again, you can see we're the only one that's one county, Broward County. The cool part is you can get a hold of any of the area agencies on aging by calling the 800 number, 1-800-96-ELDER. And so that's a great thing. If you're in any part of the state, you can reach any of them by just calling that number. One of the key programs that we provide is the helpline for information and referral services. And the great part is that we have a language line that can handle any language. So we have folks who speak English, Spanish, and Creole, but any other language can be addressed as well if people don't speak English. We are also located at 5300 Hiatus Road in Sunrise, so we have welcome people to walk in, and you can come in at any time between 8 and 5, Monday through Friday. This is a short list of some of our services, and I'll show you the next page, some more of them. But you see the helpline. We also are the key place where you go to for Medicaid long-term care programs, screening and benefit counseling. We offer a variety of different meal assistance from home delivered, congregate and emergency meals, and SNAP assistance. We also have emergency home energy assistance. We provide health and wellness classes. Examples are diabetes, self-management, Tai Chi for arthritis, powerful tools for caregivers, and many more. We have our SHINE program, which is the only is the only unbiased program in the nation that provides Medicare counseling to individuals. It's actually a national program, and it's based on wonderful volunteers who go through extensive training to really, truly understand the Medicare system and can best support you. So again, excellent program for everyone. We offer senior centers and daycare centers, transportation services, minor home repairs, legal assistance, a veteran-directed care program through Broward County Elderly and Veterans. We have a variety of different Alzheimer's and disease services that we offer, involving services such as case management, specialized medical equipment and supplies, caregiver counseling and support groups, caregiver training, transportation, and we also have our DCCI committee, which is the Dementia Care and Cure Initiative Committee. For any of you who would like to get involved in helping to create Broward to become a more dementia-friendly community. We have a new, two new programs, actually positions we created, a caregiver navigator and a healthcare navigator position that can provide one-on-one assistance for those who need some really involved support. We have our NAN Care program, which is focused on caregivers for Alzheimer's and dementia loved ones. We have our United for Seniors program, which is an intergenerational program for seniors and matches you up with a college student. And our Connecting with You program. So if someone is in need of services or a phone call and a daily phone call or weekly call just to check on them and make sure they're okay, we provide that service as well. We also have our grandparent support program, which is the eligibility for that is 55 and above. The rest of our services is 60 and above. And that is for a family member of who's taking care of a child that they didn't plan on taking care of, and this provides that extra support for them. We also have other types of home assistance programs, services such as homemaking, respite care. We have the personal emergency response units, case management, caregiver training and support, and specialized medical equipment and supplies. I ran through all of that list rather quickly. Normally, I'll spend an hour on this presentation and go into detail on all the services, but this day is not about me going over the services in that much detail, but I wanted to kind of briefly mention them to you. So if any of you are unfamiliar and you see a service you'd like to learn more about, you can always call our local helpline and they can provide you more information. The last thing I want to mention is our technology services. During COVID in particular, we noticed with all of the issues with isolation and people just not being able to connect with others, we were trying to find ways to better connect them and to, you know, just address their loneliness. So one of the things is robotic pets are available still actually on the Department of Elder Affairs website. They are a great source of joy. Actually, the name of the company is Joy for All because they're so helpful to people. So I highly recommend, if you know someone who would benefit from that, is going on the site and ordering one. By the way, they're free. We also have our Uniper technology, which is a device that hooks up to your TV set, where you can watch different types of programs, and you can participate in online exercise classes with people who are on the Uniper program as well in their homes throughout actually the US, as a matter of fact. There's also It's Never Too Late, which is a wonderful tablet that you can work with your loved one on. And we also will be getting some more technology soon. So again, technology is another area that we've been looking into and trying to better support our seniors. And that's really it. I just wanted to walk you through again so that you could see what services we have, just a summary. And I highly recommend, if you have any questions, you can reach out to our helpline at 954-745-9779. You can also feel free to email me as well. I'm happy to assist you personally, and you can give me a call. One last thing I want to mention, what's really neat is if you are interested in our programs and learning more, all of us on the bottom of our signatures have the ability to sign up for our newsletter, or you can also go on to our website, and that's a great way to find out about new things we're offering and better ways that we can assist you. So that's it. Thank you very much. It's always an honor to speak with everyone, and I'm really looking forward to hearing today's speakers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. All right, at this time, I'm going to go ahead and go into a little bit of a history behind World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, or otherwise known as WEAAD. It was originally launched in June 15th, 2006 by the International Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse and the World Health Organization at the United Nations. The purpose of WEAAD is to provide an opportunity for communities around the world to promote a better understanding of abuse and neglect of older people by raising awareness of the cultural, social, economic, and demographic processes affecting elder abuse and neglect. In addition, WEAAD is in support of the United Nations International Plan of Action that acknowledges the significance of elder abuse as a public health and human rights issue. In a society that values the just treatment of all people, WEAAD reminds us that elder abuse has implications for all of us, and so it's important to find the right solutions to it. Overall, WEAAD is a call to action for society's individuals, organizations, and communities to educate each other on how to identify, address, and prevent abuse so we can all do our part to support everyone as we age. At this time, I'd like to thank you for joining us today and taking that step toward empowering older people and our communities. Inarguably, the mistreatment or harming of an older person is an injustice that we all need to prevent and address. So here are some facts about older abuse that everyone should know. About 1 in 10 Americans aged 60 and over have experienced abuse, and it's largely underreported. Florida has the highest percentage of senior residents in the nation, projected to increase from 20 to 25%, 5.9 million seniors by 2030. 1 in 10 elders is abused, but incidents of elder abuse reported in less than 5% of cases, primarily because the most common perpetrator is either a relative, a friend, a neighbor, or a caregiver whom the elder trusts or even fears. Without accessible quality health and public services, our population becomes more at risk for elder abuse as we age. The impact of elder abuse is felt by people of all ages. The costs of elder abuse are high for the affected individuals and society alike. Elder abuse reduces older people's participation in the life of our communities, and it also creates healthcare and legal costs, which are often shouldered by public programs like Medicare and Medicaid. Elder abuse victims are costed about billions of dollars every single year when it comes to financial exploitation and fraud. The costs range from $2.6 billion to $36.5 billion annually. The reason why it's so in between is because of how they're reported. Elder abuse is associated with increased rates of hospitalization in the community population. Older adults who experience abuse or neglect are twice as likely to be hospitalized than other older people. And probably one of the most heartbreaking of the statistics is that elders who have been abused have a 300% higher risk of death when compared to those who have not been mistreated. Our country's values of justice for all requires that we construct strong supports that help people of all ages. By effectively ending isolation, creating and improving transportation, law enforcement, senior centers, and social services, we can all help stop abuse. And once again, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. And at this time, I would like to go ahead and introduce our first set of speakers, Katianna Mazard and Sarah Barker from Coast to Coast Legal Aid, South Florida.
Thank you so much for having us here today. We have a PowerPoint we're going to use to present, and I'm going to attempt to share my screen. So, oh, wait, no, it's up. Wait, is it up? Oh, somebody's doing it.
Share your screen, or you want me to share it? I'm sorry.
No, if you have it, I'd much prefer.
Okay. Right.
Thank you.
All right.
So my name is Sarah Barker. I'm the supervising attorney with the Senior Citizen Law Project at Coast to Coast Legal Aid. I'll start off the presentation. our unit project director, Katianna Mazard, is my co-presenter. So she'll jump in and introduce herself. We're so happy to be here today to provide some very important information on the issue of elder abuse and exploitation. Unfortunately, it's way too, it happens way too much in Florida and Broward County and really across the world. But we really want to make sure the residents of Broward County are able to know the resources available to them, know their rights, and know their remedies. You can go to the next slide and the next slide. Thank you. So quick disclaimer, I'll get this out of the way. The information presented does not and is not intended to constitute legal advice. Instead, all information, content, and materials presented are for general information purposes only. Information in today's presentation is current as of June 27th, 2022. And this PowerPoint may not be reproduced, distributed, copied, or cited in whole or in part without Coast to Coast Legal Aid of South Florida's written permission. For information about Coast to Coast Legal Aid, you can visit our website at www.coasttocoastlegalaid.org, or if you need to apply for services, you can also call 954-736-2400. Next slide. So before we get into the issue of elder abuse and exploitation, I'm going to give a very brief rundown of the different services that the Senior Citizen Law Project provides and who we assist. The Senior Citizen Law Project provides free legal services to Broward County residents who are 60 years of age
plan
older.
like 2 sentences.
We also provide assistance to caregivers who are 18 and older.
They already have in their mind what's going to happen.
Who meet
No
the
matter what
frailty
you say.
requirements under the
So whether
Department
they
of
know
Elder
A, B, C, and D, or they
guidelines.
know A and B, it's not going to matter.
The screen keeps
So-
changing.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
All right, a little hiccup.
I can keep going. I know it. Also, we provide assistance to grandparents or caregivers who are 55 years of age or older who have minor children residing in the same home. So generally speaking, to qualify as a senior, you have to be 60 and older in Broward County for our services, but we do have the 2 exceptions for caregivers and the grandparent 55 and older. So the different areas of law we handle for the Senior Citizen Law Project, we're more of a, we call ourselves the general practice. We do a variety of things for seniors. Probably one of the most important right now is housing issues. We assist tenants through eviction defense, tenant rights, public and subsidized housing issues. For health and public benefits, we assist with food stamps, SSI and Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, managed care, and long-term care. We assist with a variety of consumer issues. That's going to include foreclosure defense, debt collection defense, and defending garnishment of Social Security and wages. Abuse and exploitation. So this will be a hunk of what we talk about today, but we do provide representation for victims of elder abuse, hoping to get them the protective orders they need against their abusers and assist them if they've been victims of financial exploitation, fraud, or scams. We also have a naturalization project to assist individuals who are seeking citizenship to qualify for public benefits. We also assist with medical and fee waivers. Next slide. We've already started the presentation with some elder abuse statistics, but we all know elder abuse is prevalent. At least 10% of adults age 65 and older will experience some form of elder abuse in a given year, according to justice.gov. And some older adults simultaneously experiencing more than one type of abuse. We see that in our office all the time. Usually, you know, there's different types of abuse going on. It could be physical and financial exploitation all at the same time. And also, you know, the last few years with COVID-19, emerging evidence indicates that the prevalence of elder abuse in both the community and in institutions has increased during COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, we all know seniors were homebound. Certain inspections weren't able to take place for a period of time that maybe would be on a more regular basis to make sure seniors were being treated properly. Next slide. So as we've heard, elder abuse unfortunately is very underreported. And there's a variety of reasons why. A lot of times for us, we hear, I don't know what to do because I depend on the person that's abusing me. I don't have anywhere else to go. I live in my son's house and he supports me. I would be out in the street, or I'd have to be put in a nursing home or assisted living facility. So they're scared of losing that that independence that they have, and that they're going to be put in a nursing home or assisted living facility if they report the abuse. They may be physically dependent on the abuser to get to the doctor's office or to participate in daily activities like getting to the grocery store. Fear of escalation or retaliation from the abuser or from other family members. They may be isolated and homebound. They're unable to reach out to the resources that are there to help them. There may be fear of this community stigma surrounding seniors. There's low self-esteem. They blame themselves. They're afraid, they're a senior. No one's going to believe this is happening. They're going to think they're crazy, put them in assisted living. There may be issues with disability. They may be unable to drive to the courthouse, to an attorney's office, to different resources. They may be unable to write a petition if they're trying to get a restraining order. They may have mental health issues or memory loss related to age that makes it difficult for them to explain the abuse or to report the abuse. And what we saw during COVID-19 is that oftentimes when the court was using Zoom technology, a lot of our seniors had problems appearing that way. They weren't able to access the court system through Zoom. A lot of hearings have gone back in person now, so it's less of an issue, but there is still some hearings taking place via Zoom and a lot of other resources that are now remote. And it's just, for some seniors, it's very difficult for them to access. Next slide. So for my part of the presentation, I'm going to discuss injunctions for protection, which are usually going to be, with the exception of one type of injunction, which is in the probate division. This is going to be in the domestic violence division of the Broward County Circuit Courthouse. Oftentimes seniors or somebody who knows the senior that's trying to help them get out of an abusive situation will contact us about getting what they say is either an injunction or a restraining order. In short, they want the abuser removed from the senior's life. They don't want them to contact the senior. The senior wants the abuser to be ordered to stay a certain number of feet away from them. So this is the place where you would go petition the court to get an injunction. And there's different types of injunction that's going to depend on the facts and circumstances of that particular case. It's going to depend on the type of abuse, and it's going to depend on who the abuser is. So for domestic violence, it could be a spouse or ex-spouse related by blood or marriage, living or has lived with you in the past as family, or the other parent of your children. So this could be where there's a husband-wife situation, or maybe there's a son or daughter that's the abuser. So there's a familial relationship by blood, or living together as family. Dating violence. Dating violence is usually going to be within the past 6 months, and the parties were intimate and involved with each other over a time and on a continuous basis. Next slide. So the next three are what we call non-intimate partner and non-familial injunctions. So they're not related to each other and there's no intimate relationship. So a lot of people may come to us due to stalking. Somebody is harassing them relentlessly. Stalking is a course of conduct directed at a person with no legitimate purpose other than to harass or annoy the other person, in which harassment is likely to cause and which does cause substantial emotional distress. Repeat violence is another very common one we see. This is going to be multiple incidents, so there has to be a repeat. One incident has to have occurred within the last 6 months of filing for the petition. And then sexual violence, victim of sexual violence that's reported to law enforcement. I would say that for seniors, usually the most common is going to be either domestic violence that come to our office is going to be domestic violence, stalking, and repeat violence. The stalking and repeat violence can be, a neighbor. We've had incidents of neighbors being violent against seniors or stalking seniors. Next slide. So the courthouse has, in Broward County, has a domestic violence division where you actually go and fill out the paperwork to file your petition. You can do it at two places. You can do it at the central courthouse, or you can also do it at the West Regional Courthouse, which is going to be located in Plantation, Florida. And you can also get all this paperwork online that you need to fill out. So there's no need to actually go to the courthouse to fill it out. And that's going to be on the Clerk of Court's website. There is no fee for filing an injunction. There's no filing fee or any court costs associated with filing the injunction. It's typically a pro se process. They're going to go down and meet with a clerk that's going to assist them with filling out the paperwork. And then what happens is that they have to fill out, the petition's verified, so they have to swear to it and then sign the petition. And it's going to get sent to a duty judge who's going to review it. Next slide. And determine whether or not, based on what was written in the petition, there's a need for a temporary injunction. A temporary injunction is just as it sounds. It's temporary until a hearing is held. A hearing is held usually within less than 2 weeks of the filing of the petition. And until then, if you're given the temporary injunction, it prohibits all contact between the abuser, who's known as the respondent. They can't go within 500 feet of the petitioner's residence, workplace, school, or place where they may, commonly go. And they lose any firearm or concealed weapon permits during that time. Again, it is temporary, so there's going to be a final determination made at an evidentiary hearing. If this is an issue between a couple that has a minor child, there may be decisions made asking for 100% what we call time sharing now for the minor child, but that's all going to be something they can request in the petition if that is an issue. They can go to different resources to get some safety planning and support. Women in Distress, No More Tears, and JFS of Broward County are a few places where they can go. Next slide, please. So the final what we call the final hearing is usually going to be where each side tells their story to the judge. Oftentimes neither side is represented in these, but there may be two attorneys representing each party. It just depends on if the parties hired counsel to represent them. So what happens is at the final hearing, the judge will listen to both sides and make a determination as to whether or not a permanent injunction needs to be issued in favor of the petitioner. Sometimes the respondent may not want to testify. Maybe there's pending criminal charges, so they may choose to enter it by agreement without having testimony taken. Or if they want to go forward, they'll have to do the evidentiary hearing. Sometimes, depending on the facts and circumstances, and every case is different, the judge may order, a specific amount of time. Maybe it's two neighbors that had a few incidents, and so maybe they'll order it for a few years or maybe 1 year, or the parties can request, the petitioner can request until further order of the court. That basically means the injunction is going to stay in place until someone petitions the court to dissolve it. And that's usually, for most of our seniors, what we would try to have the court enter so that they're protected the longest term and don't have to worry about an end date of that protection. So if you receive a final judgment, or if you're a petitioner and you obtain a final judgment of injunction against the respondent, during that time that injunction is in place, they can't contact you or try to contact you indirectly. Go within 500 feet of your residence, workplace. In the injunction, if you work somewhere, you can put that address specifically or someplace you commonly go. They can't have their weapons permit. And then for domestic violence, there's going to be, because there may be a, depending if there's going to be a divorce or dissolution of marriage rather, there may be exclusive use and possession of the home, time sharing between the children, or for the children, if there's minor children involved in child support and or alimony. The court can order batterers intervention programs, substance abuse, anger management, and the final judgment of injunction is enforceable by arrests or reporting violations to the clerk of court or the state attorney's office. Next slide. So now I will pass this off to Katianna, who's going to talk to you about some other forms of abuse we see where going to the domestic violence division may not be the place to go, but other issues, other types of abuse we see where there's other remedies where they can get assistance through either injunctions or other legal remedies. Kat, are you there?
Yes, thank you, Sarah. My name is Katianna Mazard. I am the project director of the Senior Citizen Law Project at Coast to Coast Legal Aid. And we're happy to be here this morning to talk to you about elder abuse and financial exploitation. I do recognize a lot of the names in this webinar this morning. So thank you to a lot of you. I know I've gotten emails and phone calls from you referring seniors to our office who have been victims of elder abuse or financial exploitation. So we appreciate your partnership in keeping our seniors safe. I'm gonna jump right in and go into not all cases basically involve physical abuse when it comes to elder abuse. Other forms of abuse includes verbal abuse, threats and intimidation, where, for example, if the individual, the abuser will tell the senior, if you don't let me control your bank account or transfer your property to me, then I'll put you in a nursing home. We do see that a lot. And also with financial exploitation. And we're going to go more into details and give different examples of financial exploitation. In certain cases, the senior may have been denied a restraining order. Sarah discussed earlier about domestic violence and how to obtain a restraining order. In that case, if the senior was denied a restraining order, they are usually unaware that they have other civil legal remedies available to them. And that's why it's good for them to contact our office and we can explain those remedies to them. Next slide, please. Okay, what we do see a lot, and we're in Florida, is real property issues, financial exploitation of that, because a lot of our seniors, they do own their home. A lot of them, that's the only asset that they have, and they've lived in the home for decades. And sometimes they're tricked or defrauded into signing over a title to their home to another individual. It can be a family or it can be a stranger. They are often rushed or discouraged to consult with friends or other family members or legal professionals. They're usually told that they need to sign this document right away and not given an opportunity to review the document to see what it is or consult with someone else. The senior, in that case, if they do lose title to the home, they may have to file a fraud action or quiet title action in circuit court to get a title to the property back, and we can assist with that. We've helped, a lot of our clients regain title to their homes after it was fraudulently taken from them. And litigating those cases can be costly and time consuming, so we investigate to verify and make sure that there was fraud involved, that the senior didn't voluntarily give the property. There are cases sometimes where that may happen, But a lot of times it was not voluntarily given. The senior was defrauded or tricked into transferring title to the abuser. Now they have, because we see that a lot, the county has seen that happen a lot. So now a homeowner can set up an owner alert. So if there's any changes to title to their property, they can get an alert from Broward County Property Appraiser's office, and to just make sure, you know, to let them know that there's been a change. And if there has been a change and they didn't authorize it, or they didn't give permission, they need to contact someone right away. And even you for yourself, you may want to always go online just to make sure, you know, look up your property, because it's free information on the Broward County Property Appraiser's website. Just make sure everything is showing like usual for you, especially if you own a couple properties. You want to make sure that there's no issues with your titles and the property is still showing under your name. Other cases where we've seen the senior will meet a stranger or someone, they'll invite that individual or family member to live with them temporarily, and then that person refuses to leave the home. Then they can contact us. And then in that case, if the individual is being abusive physically or is financially exploiting the senior, we can assist the senior with filing an unlawful detainer action or ejectment action to remove the person from the home. Next slide, please. Okay, financial, we're gonna give you some examples of misuse of the seniors' money, benefits, credit cards, assets, etc. So here, the seniors' income, we know a lot of our seniors, they get Social Security benefits, food stamps, retirement, pension, or they may have a home or a vehicle that is being used without their permission. And also we see misuse of advance directives, which we encourage our clients to get advance directives, especially a power of attorney if they're going to need one, or healthcare surrogate. And the one that we see that is misused a lot is usually the power of attorney, because it gives the agent authority to act as if they are the senior. So to make a lot of decisions on behalf of the senior, like it includes like having access to their bank account, transferring funds, selling their property. So you want to make sure that the person that you give an advance direct or power of attorney to, that they're using it wisely and it's someone you trust. And if they're using it inappropriately, you can always revoke that. And we assist our clients with getting that done if the agent is misusing the power of attorney. Also, we see where there's the abuser is using the senior's funds for their own personal use. We already know that our clients don't get that much from Social Security or their SSI benefits, and the funds that they have, their pension or retirement, their savings, it's to be used for their lifetime so that they can pay their expenses and take care of themselves. And then you have this other individuals coming in and taking advantage and using that money for themselves. Also, we see a lot of adult children, like they may be living with the senior, using their food stamp cards for their own purchases and not buying food for the senior. In that case, we can assist the senior in getting, reporting that fraud to DCF and getting something set up where they'll cancel the card and then they can get a new card so that they can use for themselves. And also using the senior's credit or debit card for their own personal use and rack up the bill. And then next thing you know, the senior's getting served with a lawsuit because the bill has not been paid. Next slide. There's also an injunction for protection against exploitation of a vulnerable adult statute. This was created a few years ago, and it is to protect seniors who are vulnerable. Those seniors that are vulnerable, they're impaired due to some type of disability, brain damage, or infirmities of aging. And the exploitation is basically the abuser is depriving the senior of their funds, their properties or necessities. And the court can issue an injunction freezing those assets, the senior's assets, in order return of assets that have been like taken from the abuser, and removing the abuser from the home to protect the senior. And one of the requirements for this injunction is that the senior, there must be a report to Adult Protective Services prior to filing the petition. The one thing we wish the court can do is make a determination when there's like a title issue to real property that has been taken away, but that has to be done in a separate action. Next slide. And this is a copy of the brochure for the injunction for protection against exploitation of vulnerable adults. And it talks about who is a vulnerable adult and how to file a petition. Next slide. Okay. Unwelcome guests. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. We see that a lot because our seniors, and Sarah mentioned it, a lot of our seniors are residing alone. They live alone. And so they tend to invite people to stay with them, especially these individuals are not financially stable. So they probably don't have a job and can't afford their own place. So they're staying senior temporarily. They're invited to stay there, and then something will happen. The relationship will deteriorate for whatever reason. And now the senior will ask the individual to leave, and they refuse to leave. And there's usually like verbal abuse involved, physical abuse, or financial exploitation. Or they're controlling the senior, limiting the senior's contact with family or friends. And they're making the senior feel uncomfortable, bringing in unwanted guests or unwanted, or doing drugs and alcohol, like using alcohol in the home. And sometimes we see it where the senior will tell them what their rights are and that we're ready to take legal action, but they're usually afraid. They usually don't want to get the family member in trouble, so they don't want to, take legal action to remove the individual from the home. Sometimes we get calls where the senior will say, well, can you find them a program, something, anger management? I had a senior call me about that with her son. She invited him to her home, and then he was being verbally abusive. The senior did not want to take action. She wanted us actually to help the son go to anger management and go to rehab. And it's not something we do. We don't provide services to the abuser. Our goal is to protect the senior. And they're usually often worried about retaliation, where they would have to leave their home. A lot of our seniors live alone, as you all know, because we all work with seniors. And so they will sometimes deal with the abuse, allow the abuse to take place, because they know if that individual is removed from the home, they're not going to be able to take care of themselves, and they're going to end up in some type of nursing home, assisted living facility, especially if APS finds out they're living by themselves. It's like there's neglect there, and they're like really concerned because they don't want to go into a nursing home, and they want to be able to remain in the. Next slide. Okay, unlawful detainer, which is an action that I previously mentioned that can be used to remove an abuser from the home of the senior. So this is not an eviction action. So there's no landlord-tenant relationship involved. So the abuser is not giving the senior rent every month, because if they are paying them rent, then that has to be an eviction. If they're not paying rent, it's going to be an unlawful detainer action. There's usually no oral or written agreement to pay rent, like I just mentioned. And the exchange is usually, the senior will allow the individual to live with them and receive services, daily activity services in exchange for room and board. And unlawful detainer is governed by Chapter 82 of the Florida statute, and it's filed in county court and is a summary proceeding, meaning they move pretty quickly. It moves pretty quickly. An unlawful detainer is basically who has the right possession, who has the right to possession of the property. And there's no pre-suit that's required, pre-suit notice. So the senior does not have to give a 3-day notice or any kind of termination notice, because there's no landlord-tenant relationship between the parties. So you can just file the unlawful detainer action in county court. Next slide. Scams and ID theft. We see a lot, especially during COVID and post-COVID, we're seeing it. Scammers are trying to find new ways to scam not only seniors, but all of us. And a scam is a ploy where a scammer targets someone in an attempt to deceive them into giving the scammer money or property. Typically, they're done over the phone, via mail, or over the internet. But sometimes it can involve people closest to you. They will try to scam you. Next one. think I have two. You can go to the next one. Okay. All right, now I'm gonna pass it over to Sarah to discuss this chart.
Thank you. So the FTC has a community advocate center, and we joined their community advocate center, which basically allows, if a senior comes to us, we can have them report to the FTC a scam, or if they were a victim of a fraud, we can have them report that to the FTC through a special link, which the FTC can track them as coming through this area. And so they're trying to hone in on what's going on where in different counties. So this is a fairly new program that the FTC has set up, and they sent us their first report data. Not surprising to me, the top reported category for the fourth quarter of 2021 was identity theft. That's probably one of the top issues we see seniors come in with, especially during COVID. There was a lot of ID theft going on, or that had been going on, and the senior was unaware of it with, for example, obtaining unemployment benefits. To their surprise, somebody was already obtaining them on their behalf through identity theft. So it's really a major problem here, and probably other areas, but definitely in Florida. Next slide. Again, so this report covers the Fort Lauderdale, Pompano Beach, and Miami metropolitan areas. And for the dates of October 2021 through February 2022, there was a median fraud loss of $800, and for that Tri-County area, and that's pretty high for our seniors, or for seniors who really only get Social Security. That's usually, about half or more of their income for the month. So that can be very devastating. It can cause someone to fall behind on important things like housing expenses, like a mortgage payment or a condo association payment or rent, and can cause them actually to spiral into a situation where they may lose their home. So, while divvying it out to 800 a person, or, the median loss of 800, it could really be quite devastating to anyone, but especially to seniors. Next slide. So for, again, the same dates, October 2021 through February of 2022, I can't read because it's small. One of the things that I found interesting was that the highest loss was with investment related scams. Even though it wasn't the top reported category, it was third. I had the highest loss. And we've actually in our office seen an increase of cryptocurrency scams. And those who had a life savings of 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, all lost to these cryptocurrency scams. So I that number is really devastating, to have someone that had a nice nest egg to live off of the rest of their life, and then it's suddenly gone. Next slide, please. So the highest loss number by age was for those between the age of 60 and 69, and that age group was also the second highest victims of fraud, or had the highest fraud, the second highest fraud reports. The highest was actually for the younger age group of 30 to 39, but they didn't suffer as high of a loss. And then for the age group of 60 to 69, they had the highest median loss of 1,400. And that's for this metropolitan statistical area. So that's going to be Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Pompano. Next slide.
Thank you, Sarah. Victims, usually they do not normally know the scammer here when we're talking about victims of ID theft or scams. And the scammer usually solicits the victim by phone. We know we've been getting calls. Either they will say they're calling from Social Security, the IRS, or your bank, trying to get your personal information so that they can scam you. And the scammers usually create an urgent need for the senior to give personal information. We have seniors who are being told they're going to get arrested if they don't provide the information right away. So instead of, investigating a little bit more, our seniors will panic and sometimes will give their personal information to this scammer over the phone or via email. For example, I'll give an example. One of my friends, her mom recently received like a text message. Her email was actually hacked, and they had her banking information, and they were telling her, they were threatening to release certain information about her if she didn't provide them with a certain amount of money or crypto. She had crypto, Sarah mentioned it earlier. So there's all these scams that are out there. So you just want to be careful. And if you were to get contacted by someone who's trying to, scam you out of your information or threatening to release information about you, you should call the police. And it's also very hard to get the money back. We usually get a lot of seniors, and it's very unfortunate because when they are scammed, like the investment frauds, we can tell them, yes, report it to the FCC, report it to the FBI, your local police department. When it comes to coming to our office and being able to follow legal action, if we don't know who the individual is, like the scammers, you don't have any information, because in order to file a lawsuit against someone, you have to have their name and their address. And a lot of times if these scams occur on the internet, we have no way of tracking that information. If the FBI or FTC, they're able to track it, and you're provided with that information that is good, then they can go after that individual or the scammer. But for us, it's difficult because we don't have a name, we don't have an address, we don't know where these individuals are. And so what we can provide them with is advice on how to go about reporting it. And like Sarah said, it's very unfortunate because they have their life savings, and now they're defrauded out of their funds, and they're not able to retrieve that money back. The focus, and usually what we try to focus on, you could try to focus on recovery if we know who the scammer is, or to eliminate further victimization. So here, if it's something with an account, we all have seen it, where your bank has informed you, or you see it on your bank account where money was taken out of your bank account, and then now you report it with to your bank. You can close the account, or there's other ways. I had it happen to me, and I'm not even a senior. So my bank had to actually trace it to see who was this individual that was trying to take money out of my account. And I think it was from a transaction online that I done, some website that was unsafe, and I try to be really safe. So in the end, they were able to stop the recurring transaction by the scammer who was taking money out of my account. So it happens to all of us, not just seniors, unfortunately. And so we want to make sure the senior regain their financial stability. So if it's an account, may be necessary to close the account if the bank cannot prevent this individual or the scammer from taking money out of your account. And making the appropriate ID theft and scam reports, like we said earlier, reporting it to your local authorities and other agencies. Next slide. And here it is. Report it. You can report it to FTC, the Attorney General. They keep track of the information. Unfortunately, like we said earlier, a lot of times it's reported and they track the information, they make the reports, but a lot of times they can't recover the funds for the senior or find out who the scammer is. They can make a police report, notify their financial institution, immediately notify your financial institution to let them know what happened, and always check your account. A lot of people, they don't check their account. You can always have your account set up where you get emails with like every transaction that takes place on your account, so that you get an email alert from your bank on all the withdrawals that are being made to your account and your credit card. Review your credit report. You can get an annual credit report, or you can do Credit Karma. It's really good. You can set that up where you get alerts about new accounts that have been set up under your name. You can have a consumer alert. So anytime a new account is open, you will see it. You can challenge it right away. Because it's hard a lot of times, you know, the annual report, some people won't look at it annually, but with a Credit Karma, it's an app. It's on your phone, you can check it and you see everything, like all the transactions or the accounts, so you can challenge those by clicking it. If you see something, you know, like you didn't make the application, you see it right away on Credit Karma, you can challenge or dispute that account. And next slide. And this is how to report scams, and if you're a victim ID theft. You also want to alert what we said earlier, your local authorities. It's really best because then you have that police report to show you were a victim. And the reason we say report it, because a lot of times people will not report it and they don't have any proof that they've reported it. So you want to get copies. If your bank wants copies of the police report that you filed, you have it, or you later get sued because a credit card or some kind of account was open under your name. This person has made a transaction under your name, and it would, the whatever the transaction was, it wasn't paid for, was not, or there was still a balance, and now you're getting sued. You want to have the police report, because in the case, and you can file a copy of that police report and the lawsuit to show the court that you were a victim of ID theft or scam. Next slide, please. Here's some other ones. We see that a lot. My online boyfriend told me he loves me and now wants me to send him money. We all saw the Tinder swindler. If you didn't see it, you need to watch it on Netflix. So there aren't seniors, and these women were defrauded out of thousands of dollars by this guy. So it happens to our seniors. They're lonely. They're on Facebook. So we've had a couple of clients recently who contacted us because some individual they met on Facebook and they started giving them money. They don't even know this individual. So, you know, they're not gonna, it's not gonna be the person's real name. And so it's like, there's nothing we can do. We could just tell them to report it. But we're seeing a lot of it, those kind of like romance scams. Or our seniors will see an ad for something like, oh, this pill will cure everything, cure COVID. And they send the money for it. They have to report it to the local authorities. Or I won the lottery. We've seen that one a lot. And we had a client who went as far as like out of the country. Sarah was, I think it was Spain. He went that far because he thought he was the winner for lottery. And he received a letter for someone in Jamaica, this beautiful woman who said he had won the lottery and he needed to catch a flight to go meet her to retrieve his winnings, and got all the way there. No one was there to meet him. Thank God the embassy there contacted his family and they were able to get him a flight back. But that's how far and that's how vulnerable our seniors are, and they believe these scams, and they will travel really far and put themselves in harm's way to try to recover money from what they thought was a lottery, that they had won the lottery. Or gift cards. We see a lot of gift cards where people are asking them to wire money, or Walmart gift card. Be careful. Those are normally scams. Next slide. Holistic services. If the victim has additional legal needs that is within the scope of what our office handles, Sarah went over the list earlier, we can assist them with those as well. For example, the client falls behind on mortgage payments due to a financial scam. That client is being sued for a credit card debt or unrelated financial scam. We can provide them legal assistance, whether or not it's related to the victimization. The senior I mentioned earlier who traveled abroad to meet the scammer, he was not paying his mortgage because he was giving them his Social Security and pension checks every month. So then now he was behind on his mortgage payments, and we had to assist him with this foreclosure case because he got behind as a result of this, the scam. Next slide. Other ways to report abuse. So here's the list. Deborah from DCF is on here. We've worked with her in the past. So these are the different ways. Next slide. And our contact information. So here, the information presented is not intended to constitute legal advice. Instead, all information, content, and materials presented are for general information purposes only. That's our disclaimer. If someone does need legal advice on a matter, they can always reach out to us. They can contact us. They can apply online on our website 24 hours a day at coasttocoastlegalaid.org. Or they can call us at 954-736-2400. And some of you have our personal office number and our email address. If you know a senior who is a victim of abuse and financial exploitation, please reach out to us and we're happy to help. So thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you so much, Katianna and Sarah. Let me... All right, at this time, I believe that we're going to go ahead and do a raffle. Candy, are you ready?
I am, but I need you to stop sharing your screen so that I can share mine.
There we go.
Okay. All right, so everyone should be able to see my screen. I have gone ahead and put everybody's name in there. So we're going to click and choose the winner.
All right, Valerie Bastien, you won. What did she win, Candy?
She's going to win an Amazon gift card that will be sent to her electronically.
That's great. Congratulations, Valerie.
Thank you.
All right. At this time, we will go ahead and have our next speaker, who is Deborah Golden from the Florida Department of Children and Families.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I see a lot of names I recognize, so I know a lot of you have already done my training, so I'm going to try to switch things up a little bit. We don't have a PowerPoint for today, so you just get to see my face. So to start off with, I just want to talk with you about what DCF does and our scope of practice. So DCF, Adult Protective Services, does investigations for anyone who is 18 or older with a long-term physical, mental, or developmental disability or any type of memory loss. When it comes to physical limitations, we are not going to do anything that is short-term, like broken arms, broken legs, broken hips. If they become impaired after that incident or have another say another illness that impacts them, like brittle bone disease, osteopenia, or porosis, where they're constantly breaking bones, then they'll be considered a vulnerable adult. We no longer have an age for when someone becomes vulnerable. It used to be at 75. That no longer exists. So at DCF, after we've received a report of abuse, neglect, self-neglect, or exploitation, and our exploitation does not include scams. We don't investigate scams here. We go out, we have 24 hours from the time the case was reported to us to go out and see that client. Only during the hours of 8 to 5 do we now complete immediate reports, which we have 4 hours to meet the client rather than 24. About 5 or 6 years ago, they took away the overnight one. So if somebody is found wandering in the streets or they feel someone's been sexually molested or abused, we have to have them send them to the hospital right away, and we'll go out the next morning. So when we're investigating abuse, we're doing physical abuse, mental injury, and we're also doing sexual abuse. For neglect, it's anywhere from inadequate supervision, medical neglect, the self-neglect, which they're doing on their own, which is just basically a person that's in need of assistance. There's nothing criminal with self-neglect, and the exploitation that our alleged perpetrator has to be in a position of trust and confidence, or be aware that the victim lacks capacity to consent or has some type of memory limitation. We have 45 days to complete the investigation, in which time we're going to make referrals for services. The only time we're going to pull someone out of the home is if they're in risk of their life or death for their health. For hoarders, we don't pull them out of the home. If they have capacity, we're going to let them continue to live like that. So after we determine the victim is a vulnerable adult, we do go out, when we're talking with them, we determine do they have capacity to consent to DCF services, not if they're incapacitated by court. A lot of people get very confused on that. Ours is just simply, do they have the ability to consent to DCF services? If we determine the victim doesn't and they don't have a caregiver or a power of attorney to make those decisions for them, and they do require services to get out of the abuse, neglect, or exploitation, we do a 415 petition and we go to court. In Broward, we see magistrates, and almost every time they're granted. And we do need to start with least restrictive. We don't want to start with pulling someone from the home right away. Can in-home services help stop the abuse, neglect, or exploitation or self-neglect? Some of those services include homemaking, personal care, Meals on Wheels, assisting them with getting automatic bill pay, maybe medical services. Sometimes people with dementia and they're just slightly demented, they need a nurse to come out and set up their pills for them weekly. We could help with talking with the doctors to get that. We do transportation services. We refer people for mental health, substance abuse. If they don't have insurance, it's through DCF. If they do have insurance, we try to find out which providers they could get mental health care from and make referrals to there. So mostly DCF is we go out, we investigate, and we determine what could stop the abuse, neglect, exploitation, self-neglect. A lot of times with the self-neglect, it's going to be elderly couples. And say, for instance, the husband is 94 trying to care for his 90-year-old wife, and they call it in and it becomes that the husband or wife is always the caregiver. Husband and wives aren't always caregivers to each other, but a 94-year-old that might not be able to take care of himself isn't necessarily responsible if he can't take care of his wife. So a lot of times we have to call these second-party reports that come in and call the hotline back and make them self-neglect just to make sure. However, there are times where family members are caregivers and that family member is responsible for the care of the victim. We have had a big increase of abuse and neglect and exploitation during COVID. It started off in the beginning with the self-neglect and other neglect when everything was closed down because the day centers the clients were going to weren't open and the family members still had to work. So these people with severe dementia or autism or intellectual disability were being left home, locked in a home with no way to get out in case of an emergency. And then it continued where home health services weren't going out to the home for victims who had services in the home, saying that because of COVID, we're not allowed to go in the house and check on them. As of October of last year, ACA has ceased that. So a lot of the long-term care providers were using that as an excuse as why not to go out. However, the governor had already stated the state agencies could go out, and DCF went out all through ACA, all through the close down from COVID. The next thing we were noticing is a lot more exploitation was going on. And a lot of it has to do with family members who might have lost their jobs during the course of COVID. And then they're trying to live off their parents' money. So we have seen a lot of verified cases over the past 2 years. In addition, a lot of death reviews, death cases that are coming in from facilities, nursing homes. So when we're reviewing our cases, we do give recommendations to facilities, but I've noticed a lot of facilities don't always take them. So if you ever have family members that go to facilities, make sure you're going in to visit them, check on them, because I really kind of feel that facilities try to get away with as much as they can. So going back to what we do, after we determine the person lacks capacity and they're in need of services, There's two different types of petitions we do. We do either emergency petitions or just a regular petition. An emergency petition has to be filed by the court the next business day. That is if we make a removal from the home without anyone's consent. And then we have the non-emergency petition, which we have up to 5 days to complete. And then that could take up to 10 days in court for them to give us a court date to get services in. We do try to find family members. However, if we find someone who can't give us the information that we require, we don't have any special powers to find family members. So we do work with a lot of agencies. Now, when we're doing our institutional cases, we work with ACA, the Department of Health, Medicaid Fraud Control Unit, and the Long-Term Care Ombudsman. And we each do the same investigation, but our own parts of it. So what might be neglect to us at DCF, which could be one single incident, could just be an accident to the police with no intent for them to make an arrest. So it could not be criminal. To ACA, a lot of our stuff is the same, but some of it could be a little different. For example, when it comes to staffing hours, we might feel there's not enough staff on. I did have a case where there was 110 people and only 2 staff on at night, and a death occurred from resident to resident. When we investigate that, we don't investigate the clients. They're both considered victims. We're investigating the facility to see did they provide enough supervision to make sure people were safe. At that point, ACA did agree with us. However, the police, when they went to investigate it the one client against another. Long-term care ombudsman, I never got their findings for that case. But there is a lot of fighting within institutional settings. It's the institution's job to make sure all efforts and all security measures are in place to keep the residents safe from each other if mental health issues occur. Do you have any questions about anything so far? Anyone? No, okay. Okay, so to continue on with this part, after we've done our investigation, a victim who does have capacity to consent can continue to live how they're living, whether anyone else agrees with it or not. Our job isn't to go out and judge people, because we do get cases where neighbors and homeowners associations are trying to kick someone out because of the condition of their home. We go out, we determine what services are needed, we offer it to them, and if they have capacity, they could say no. A lot of times they don't know what services are out there. And unfortunately, right now, unless it's high risk, they do go on a wait list. There's no immediate services unless it's a high risk situation. Other than that, we're not. In addition to the self-neglect and the neglect, the abuse, I'll tell you, when it comes to our cases, we see mostly self-neglect in the county and then neglect based on second party. The third most common is exploitation. And then after that is abuse. Abuse is the smallest amount, and sexual abuse is even smaller than that. For mental injury, when people curse, that isn't a mental injury for us. Mental injury has to be confirmed by a doctor that stated they came to seek some type of treatment, whether it's they were depressed and got pills, or they made some kind of report. For mental injury, it's belittlement, harassment, and ridicule. So it's not going to be just cursing between families that they might have done all the time. However, when it comes to exploitation, we have to make sure that the alleged perpetrator used intimidation or deception. So intimidation, depending on what it is, it could be as little as I'm going to throw you in jail, or I'm going to send you to a nursing home. I had a case where the alleged perpetrator every day came in knowing that the victim had millions of dollars, and every day said, oh, I'm about to lose my house. I'm going into foreclosure. I'm losing my house. I'm going into foreclosure. And they used that to make him feel bad till he decided that he would give them money. However, he does not remember giving them the money. And when he went the next day to his accountant saying, I think some of my money was gone, his mental limitations came, and it ended up being a verified case for exploitation that the cops did nothing about. However, we went to court and got a guardian in order to stop the exploitation. So that is one step we could take. I know Katianna had mentioned about helping fill out the stopping the money 825 DCF. We're not allowed to do that. We have to use our 415. So we can make recommendations to go to legal aid to help them out. We also don't take alleged perpetrators out of the house. We have to refer people to get evicted, or if the police don't want to make an arrest. But number one, when abuse happens between family members, sometimes the police will make an arrest for physical injury abuse, and then it's the victim who bails their alleged perpetrator out of jail the next day. Family is very protective of family. So even though we go and we're trying to assist, many people don't want that assistance. So we do have some people that are frequent flyers. We do deal a lot with mental illness. So just because a person thinks they're marrying John Bon Jovi or Wolverine, which I got invited to the wedding, does not mean that the person lacks capacity. It could just be they have some delusions that impairs their ability to a point, but not necessarily to take care of themselves. I've had people who take all their medications, pay all their bills. They can't hold down jobs though because they're delusional, and really they're not neglecting. However, the places that they live don't always like that they're like that, and they want to kick them out. Our job is basically to stop future abuse, neglect, and exploitation. So some of our cases don't fall in that, and then we make referrals to other agencies to help them out. Okay, I guess that's everything. If there's any questions.
All right, thank you so much, Deborah.
You're welcome.
All right, and I do believe that we are going to do another raffle. Candy? Okay, Nicole Smith won. We still have a lot of them on here, or just one?
We just have one now.
Okay, all right. So the real Nicole Smith won. Congratulations, Nicole. Okay. All right. Well, that concludes today's WEAAD event. I really hope that you enjoyed it. It was very informative. And I'd like to go ahead and thank our speakers again, Katianna Mazard and Sarah Barker from Coast to Coast Legal Aid, and Deborah Golden again from the Department of Children and Families. And also our CEO, Charlotte Mather-Taylor, for starting up. And that's it. Yes. Charlotte, if you're still here, I don't know if you want to say anything.
No, I'm good, Krizia. I thought, sorry, I have dogs barking. It was a great job, and thank you again.
All right, thanks. Thank you everyone for being here. Have a great rest of your Monday.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.